Has everyone seen my name's Tiffany Anderson.
Hi, Tiffany.
Hi.
This is Investigator Charles Stone with the Department of Toxic Substances Control. I'm joined by
Dylan Clark with DTSC.
Eric Capit, San Joaquin County Environmental Health Department.
Les Mahler, reporter.
Les Mahler, reporter for the
Central Valley Business Times.
Central Valley Business Times. Okay, and we're here to interview, what was your name again?
Tiffany Anderson.
Tiffany Anderson. Go ahead, Ms. Anderson.
Okay. Have you all seen my Cal EPA complaint?
I have.
You have. So the very top document is a response from Kim Martin Hill. Her name was Kim Hill and now it's Kim Martin. She works under Hudson. I was introduced to Kim Hill in 2011 when I filed my initial complaint against mosquito abatement.
So for, I have not read that complaint. Can you kind of give us a background of it?
I can give you a copy of it. It's quite extensive. And what it is in 2011, sorry. In 2011, Mike Morris, he was an investigator for the DA's office, had interviewed me regarding a complaint I filed with the San Joaquin County grand jury. I had filed civil concerns, and an employee with tenure over me had introduced a criminal aspect to the complaint to the grand jury. I was not aware of the criminal issues with my employer, and it was brought to my attention for the first time by Mike Morris.
Okay.
After hearing the information that I heard, it was very alarming, and I pursued my own avenues for my own rights. So, that's what's led us here today.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you a lot of information, and you can always call back to refer and verify, or I'll answer your questions. But the very top document that you have a copy of, you two, and feel free to recopy it, is a reply to my Cal EPA complaint. I will give you a copy of the Cal EPA complaint.
So this, I'd call it Exhibit Number 1, would be, it's a pesticide exposure investigation report, pages 105, for the San Joaquin Mosquito Abatement White Slough site.
Yes.
Okay, and it says the date of occurrence is 4/18/2006.
Well, that is actually, we'll have to look at the documents. That's incorrect.
Okay.
There's a lot of inaccuracies in here.
I was going to say, because it says here it's 4 March 8, 2006, but it says it wasn't received until November 25th,
Correct.
2013.
Now, keep in mind, I did not even know about some of these issues until the investigation from the grand jury in the DA's office.
Okay.
So we'll be doing a lot of back and forth.
Okay.
So this alarms me because these people, their agency sits right across the street from my employer's agency. Scott Hudson, the ag department, the ag commissioner, goes on retreats or goes on educational retreats with my employer and the board members.
Okay.
So I don't really take this seriously. It's kind of
Who is it again, Mr. Martin?
Kim Martin.
Kim Martin.
And it used to be Kim Hill in 2011. She's been married since then. Let's go to stuff that matters, and that would be the first memo from the district. This memo is dated 4/21/1998.
Okay.
It's to the Board of Trustees from John Stroh, the manager, and it's status of employment-related issues submitted by the San Joaquin County Employment Association.
Okay. San Joaquin SJPEA.
They had formed their own association.
Okay.
Okay. So, okay.
So that's the San Joaquin Public Employees Association?
I believe I was not a member. It's
Okay.
before my time.
Okay.
Okay. Too easy.
Okay. We can skip down to bullet number 2. And it says, I met with Katie Geist on April 9th to seek further clarification on several of the issues raised at the March 25th meeting. I provided her with some of the preliminary results of my investigation into the concerns about wastewater handling, employee performance evaluations, and procedures to promote district personnel. I explained to her at this time it was apparent that a large portion of the concerns raised at the March 25th meeting appeared to be from one person, and that some of these were trivial and would not be responded to. I want you to note that this man is dead, this one person. He died at the age of 59, 9 months after he retired from the district.
Okay. And what was his name?
Dwayne Skip Bridgewater.
Dwayne Skip Bridgewater. Okay.
We'll skip to memo number 2.
And this one's from Kay DeGeist.
If this memo is to
To
the
her.
yes,
From
to the
John
representative
Stroh.
from John Stroh.
Okay.
Dwayne Bridgewater, Larry Nolan, and Jim Sheffield were the representatives, and it's regarding employee wastewater handling.
Okay.
Now, in this document, John Stroh is stating that he has developed a wastewater information binder for each employee. This is the title of the binder,
Okay.
Agriculture and Municipal Wastewater Information. Includes all of the documentation and reference materials collected since the district reviewed the March 12, 1998 from this association.
Okay.
Okay. The binders will be presented to the employees at the general staff meeting on June 9, 1998. Management personnel will review the contents of the binder, which includes general safety and personal hygiene information about working safely with wastewater. After review, the employees will be provided an opportunity to evaluate the information and provide and help determine what and if any additional training or information is needed.
Okay.
If necessary, the district will contract with appropriate industrial hygiene firms and specialize in training employees on wastewater handling.
Okay.
John's second agreement is to contract with a private firm to test water from representative types of local mosquito breeding sources, agriculture, industrial, municipal wastewater facilities, county drains, and ditches. The tests will include general microbial testing, including evaluation of bacterial pathogens, parasites, and human viruses. Copies of lab reports will be provided to employees as they become available.
Okay.
So John Stroh, is he like a safety?
John Stroh is the manager.
He's just in charge of the whole mosquito district?
Yes.
So if I were to summarize this, we have a documentation saying that there are these wastewater binders, and I'm assuming one of these is them.
I've never received one. This is a secondhand document that I received from an employee who's retired.
Okay. So, which is that document. And he's basically saying in this document, though, the district will also be contracting with a private water firm to test water from different areas.
Correct. That
Okay.
employees have contact with.
Okay.
And they will report it to the employees and let them know their findings.
So in other words, is there a belief that there is the water is contaminated with something and the employees are being exposed?
There was a lawsuit with a gentleman named Ken Sabati who had
Okay.
fallen into Ripon wastewater, and he sued the district. I don't know what the rest of it's undisclosed, but I know that sparked this concern, these concerns with employees.
So that based on that lawsuit and based on this memo and the policy, is it that the water in the Ripon Irrigation District is contaminated?
Sewage water, if you know anything about it, is
Okay,
very
so
contaminated.
This was sewage water.
Well, it's wastewater facilities. I mean,
Okay.
I personally work at Stockton Sewer
Okay.
without ever having this binder, without ever knowing the results of testing, without ever being informed that any of this information took place.
Okay, so this gentleman fell into a wastewater container.
Correct. Well,
Okay.
a wastewater treatment facility, Ripon wastewater.
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought it was wastewater irrigation district, but it's Ripon wastewater.
Correct.
Okay, now I understand.
So then we'll go to the next document. And it's just an index of what's in the binder, or what's supposed to be in the binder.
Just so we're clear to make the connection between the vector control district and the wastewater, is this where the source of the pollution of concern they thought was coming from? Is that
Yeah,
what-
I'll get to it. I'm sorry, this is a pretty lengthy
Okay.
story.
It's okay.
Okay.
We'll get to it.
Okay.
I just want to show you some of our rights as employees. And
Okay.
Okay.
so the next is an index of what should be in the binder.
Okay, in this binder.
Correct.
Okay.
And it's obvious why employees would need to know this stuff or be concerned.
Yeah.
And on top of this has a claim number 7104456. Is that a lawsuit number or?
No, that is a insurance,
Claim
a
number.
secondary insurance claim number.
Okay.
The next documents are treatment records
Okay.
that an employee found of formalin treatments at the White Slough facility.
What is a formalin treatment?
Formalin is it's a form of formaldehyde.
Okay.
So what it is, it goes by different names, but paraffin F.
Okay, no paraffin.
Okay, so I mean, it stands for itself. These are our treatment records right here, and what you will find on this card is the date of the treatment.
Okay, so this is
Actually, we'll start from the very
2007.
We'll start at the very top. Zone, township, section, and range.
So okay, so this is taking a plotting map, township, section, and range, or township, range, and section.
Correct.
Can give me to the actual plot of land or the APN number.
Supposed to.
Okay.
Okay.
So this would say that on 3/14/2007.
Number one is a source, which would be 043, and those would be, we have a source code of 100 sources on there. So 043, I'm assuming, is a pond.
Okay.
Okay, it's been a while since I've worked there, but so the formalin is the chemical sprayed. This
Okay.
is the amount of gallons.
575 gallons.
Correct.
That's a big pond.
This is the concentrate,
So that would be
10,240
okay.
of ounces. And then this is the acreage, 4.68.
Okay.
Treatment time, name of the chemical, the employee who sprayed it,
Right,
and the
okay.
employee who drove.
Okay. So there's 2 employees on every single one. So one's driving a vehicle and one's spraying the area.
Correct.
Okay. And are these San Joaquin mosquito abatement employees, or are they independent contractors?
They are mosquito abatement employees.
Okay. Okay.
And just the 300 is 300 minutes.
Correct. Now, what you will notice here, or what you won't notice here, is that when this is put into the computer system, on this column's kind of cut off, but that initial that's a C. Her name is Carol Asklin.
Okay.
Now, Carol is the secretary who put the information in the computer to report to the Ag Department. And if you notice, there is no C here because this was not reported to the Ag Department.
Okay.
And an employee can verify that because they went to the Ag Department and pulled up the records, and they didn't exist. But ironically, they exist now.
Okay. So at some point, this information was entered into the computer.
At some point, this information was transferred to the Ag Department. I don't know how.
Okay.
I'm not even going to guess how it was done. So then there's a couple more years. Now, there's 1 or 2 years that were witnessed by employees that are not on documentation.
Okay.
So I don't want to show my hand, but I'm going to trust that you gentlemen are going to do what's right and in the best interest of our citizens and not mosquito abatement. Now, right here is some information that I pulled up regarding formalin, the day that it was sprayed, the weather conditions, because when you get into the science of it, it says that if it's a certain temperature, that it's more toxic than not.
Okay.
So you need to look at weather patterns and stuff like that. So that's what these are right here.
Okay. That was.
You have them all in your.
Oh, there.
Yeah, you have them all. The next packet is formaldehyde and just some information about it. I think some really good information. And it talks about overexposure to formaldehyde irritates the eyes, nose, throat, and skin. Those are the very first symptoms of knowing that you've had an overexposure. Cause allergic reactions of the skin, dermatitis, lungs, asthma. Formaldehyde is known.
Does it cause a cancer?
Yes. Okay. Now, you can take a picture of it, whatever. I'm not going to give you copies of it. It's my own personal stuff. But what I want you to know is that the insurance company subpoenaed all my medical records, and prior to working at Mosquito Abatement, I didn't have any. I had like some childbirthing records, and that was about it.
Okay.
Okay, once I started working at Mosquito Abatement, within my first month, I had my first exposure. And these are my own personal.
It's a lot of medical records.
And if you go through them, what I've done is I've indexed them, and I put keywords in with these, put the dates on there, the spray times, and pulled up the symptoms to see what follows after.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what I've done for myself, and that's my own personal stuff. But
So we're going to take that off the table because
okay, it's fine.
that's we're not going to take a copy of
Exactly.
that. With us.
I'm not giving you a copy of these. I just want you to know that they exist.
Okay. I'm thinking that's a lot of reading for you, Don.
I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
Okay.
So, and the file that we're not getting, so we're
Almost there.
So that we're not getting is a copy of your medical records that were subpoenaed by the insurance company. That, if necessary, you could show how individual exposures correspond with individual illnesses within your.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, I will tell you that I personally worked at the White Slough facility. I have timesheets to back it up.
Okay.
There's been an employee that has died. There's been an employee that was hospitalized. That was Dwayne Skip Bridgewater.
Sweet. So I want to make sure there wasn't a second employee besides Dwayne Skip Bridgewater.
There was a gentleman named Joe Sorelli.
Uh-huh.
When he was newly hired, he was hospitalized with pneumonia.
And
There's Scott Andres, who had a skin rash that he could not get diagnosed or treated.
Scott Anders
Scott Andres, Andres.
and Miss Sorali. Can you spell that too?
S-A-R, I don't know. S-A-R-A-L-E, I think.
Okay, that's how I put it too.
I can barely spell my name. Okay, there is Janine Esau Finley Durham. She had a rash. She was chronically sick with the symptoms that are similar to this. There was myself.
okay.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody else. It wasn't my place to know other people's stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a few you guys could get started with if you're, really interested. Formaldehyde can affect you when you breathe. Its vapors or touch the liquid. Because formaldehyde reacts quickly with body tissues, it mainly affects the place of direct contact, such as the eyes, nose, and skin. The most common effect of overexposure is irritation of the eyes, nose, and throat. It just starts going into the science of it, the lungs. Oh, you know what? There was Don Meidinger. He's had 2 heart attacks, and when you start reading about how it affects the lungs and the heart, it says repeated exposure to formaldehyde can cause allergic asthma. Symptoms of asthma include chest tightness, shortness of breath, wheezing, and coughing. Formaldehyde's long-term effects on the lungs are not fully understood. The gentleman was hospitalized twice with heart issues.
Were they heart issues or were they lung issues, or were they?
I personally don't know his medical history. I know he was hospitalized twice for heart issues. But if you read this, it's very clear that it doesn't just stop at a rash.
Okay.
I'm not a doctor. Okay. So your employer must have a medical surveillance program to monitor effects on your health. Provide the medical surveillance program if you develop signs and symptoms of overexposure to formaldehyde. Provide a medical disease questionnaire before assignment to jobs where exposure are at or above the action level. Promptly when you experience signs and symptoms that include overexposure to formaldehyde. I mean, you don't need me to read to you. You guys can go through the information and you guys can do what I did.
So my question is, does the mosquito vector district, do they have a monitoring program or surveillance program for their employees?
I would not know. I didn't even know they sprayed formaldehyde until the DA investigated and gave me the information.
Okay.
I would have to say no.
Okay. Did you You said you worked at the White Rock facility or the
It's called the White Slough facility.
White Slough facility?
That was not my daily assignment. My daily assignment was at the Stockton Yard. My daily assignment was at the Stockton Yard, and then we would be assigned to wherever the manager or the supervisor placed you. And in 2005, 2004, 2005, 2006, I was assigned at White Slough very frequently.
Okay.
And what happens at White Slough? I mean, why is that a place where they go a lot?
Can I answer that question like when we get towards the end?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll get into the properties that mosquito abatement uses and owns.
Okay.
So, some of the things that, regulations that help to protect workers. And on the very bottom bullet here, it says, access to medical and exposure records. You have the right to see and copy your own medical records and any records of toxic substance exposure monitoring, Title 8, Section 3204. These records are important in determining whether your health has been affected by your work. Employers have such records and must keep them and make them available to you for at least 30 years after the end of your employment. Okay, so now we're going to get into exposure 1. I was hired, I think it was 4/14 of 04, but honestly I can't even remember my hire date anymore, but it was in 4 of 04.
Okay.
My first exposure was 6 of 04, 6/8 of 04, documented
so about
right
2
here.
months later.
Yes.
Okay.
Probably when I just started going out in the field, because it took about a month and a half to go through all the educational portions and get to know your job.
So poison eggs on legs and what is the other word?
Ankles.
Ankles. Okay.
Just keep in mind that when you don't know you're being exposed to something or being, you just start guessing at what you've come in contact with.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I didn't provide all of all my medical documents, but I did give you a basis, a compass to go off of.
Okay.
And it says, she is in no acute distress. Past medical history is unremarkable. Currently ranking no medications, no drug allergies. Currently, she is not pregnant. Okay, too much information, but you get the point.
Yeah. There's no issues.
I'm a healthy person.
Yeah.
Does that look like a healthy person? No. Okay. This is my second exposure to the White Slough facility. I was personally working on the site. I was moving rose clippings. John Vignolo is the manager out there, and I was working with him and another girl. We were just taking the rose clippings from the roses that he cut, putting them on a truck, and loading them in the garbage. I went to the gym after work. I worked out. I soaked in a tub after that, and the next day I was beet red from head to toe. I don't know what I came in contact with. I don't know what happened to me. All I know is the symptoms and the results. So I reported it to my supervisor. We can note that my supervisor from my date of hire until 2007 was Dwayne Skip Bridgewater. He never told me about this binder. He never told me about the history that he had with mosquito abatement, but every time I came up with symptomatic, he would hand me one of these and say, fill it out and go to the doctor. That's all he said to me. So here's my second exposure.
Okay.
Here's my third exposure. After my third exposure, I started getting in trouble for taking time off, for going to the doctor. I was using my own sick leave and my own resources to get treatment because I didn't know that I had any rights, and my rights were not being protected by the district. They were not following that 1998 compass at all. So then the very last document is a pesticide safety information for pesticide handlers.
Okay.
And you guys can read it in your own time and process it through your own. You don't need me to tell you what this says. It's very clear.
Okay.
I will tell you that the district does claim that we only handle and work around caution materials, the least toxic. But the formaldehyde and formalin is a danger product.
So in the pesticide rule regulations and the handling, there's caution, which is the lowest level of pesticides,
Correct.
and the least dangerous. Warning level is harmful, but still dangerous. And then you have danger, which means the pesticide is extremely harmful.
Correct.
And the formaldehyde itself is considered a danger pesticide.
Correct.
And are there additional precautions that are taken with a danger pesticide that's not taken with a caution pesticide?
I know that you have to use a respirator. I would think that everything here, summary of what your employer is supposed to do and obligations would be times 3. I mean, if they need to do this with a caution, times 3 for a danger. And I don't know because I was never trained in danger. If you look at my training records, they're all with caution.
Okay, so do we have an MSDS of formaldehyde?
I personally don't. I have this
Well,
pamphlet.
Huh?
I can get them. They're in the car.
We'll check it out. We'll let her
I mean,
finish.
this is pretty good, I think. Basically covers what an MSDS would have per
I agree.
current information.
I agree.
But then would my MSDS be the same as the one you're using?
I don't have one.
I mean,
I've never
or-
used the chemicals.
Or for the product that they have that they
Right,
use. So.
You know, I don't even know what, like if you look in Kim's report, they call the chemicals something different. They're calling it paraffin F or S instead of paraffin F, or parasite S. It's called paraffin F. So who knows what they're saying, who knows what they're reporting. All I know is what the DA told me, the copies of the records that an employee photocopied and gave to the DA's office. And yeah, that's about all I have. Anything that I've done on my own. Here's a copy. I only have one
Okay.
to give you, and this is a copy of the barrel in 2007.
Parasite F.
Now you can have that. I have a
That
copy.
says Parasite F. And her report says
Parasite S.
Parasite F. Say Parasite
Parasite. Paracide.
Yeah, she has Parasite in her in the May 4/18/2006 report from the Department of Pesticide. She has in the third paragraph, the third sentence, the last time parasite, SITES, was used was March 12, 2009. And there is a drum dated 12/5/2007 that says parasite, CIDEF. Okay.
Okay, so what I have here, here's True North.
Okay.
Is that right? I'm a girl, so I kind of have my, let's see here. No excuse. Here's I-5. This is north, south. Is that right? No, wait. This is north. Wait, north, south, west, east.
So
Okay.
we're looking at a aerial view of what side is this?
This is I-5.
No, what side is this?
This is the wastewater treatment facility in Lodi.
Okay, this is the Lodi wastewater treatment facility. Do you want to write north on there somewhere?
Yeah, I'm a little nervous now, but okay.
I mean, this is an aerial map, so the top of it should always be north.
True north. Okay. Yes, and that's correct. Okay, south. And then I-5, this is west, and this is east.
Okay.
Okay, so this is I-5. This is the White Slough facility, or White Slough.
The road.
Well, no, this is the waterway.
Oh, okay.
So this is a ditch. So
And this is what you were cleaning out when you got injured?
no, it's right. I was right here. This pen.
Do you have a pen? Right here. Take one.
I was right here along this way.
Okay.
So that's where the rose bushes are, right there.
Can you go just mark that with the rose bushes? Just
Well, that's what this is right here.
Okay.
Just this whole line.
Just put a line here that says rose bushes, so we know what that means.
Okay. Like roses are going to cover wastewater smell.
No.
Okay. Okay, so the roses. These are the ponds that mosquito abatement. Let me start over. This is Lodi's wastewater treatment facility. So
Okay.
this is owned by Lodi Treatment. Okay. This is leased by mosquito abatement from Lodi, City of Lodi. These are the ponds that the formaldehyde was sprayed in.
Okay.
These ponds were dug by mosquito abatement. They should not have any permits when they were dug, and they are below the water table.
So it means they're getting water from the water table itself as it's.
Or anything they're putting in there is going into the water table.
Okay.
So if you're spraying, whatever they're spraying in here is going in here, which goes into the waters of the U.S., and it's most likely drifting and going into here because that's what happens with chemicals. And this is our treatment facility, which
Okay.
goes back into our city and goes into the ocean and the waters of the U.S.
So we have this is the wastewater treatment facility.
Correct.
So when you said it goes back into our city, what did you mean by that?
Well, is this not secondary water that our sewage goes in here, and then these ponds start draining like the dry, like this is our solids here,
Yeah.
and then the water gets treated,
Yes.
and then where does it go?
I thought it goes out to the waterway, to the waters of the U.S.
Okay, I'm not sure because I don't know enough about wastewater, but I know it goes somewhere.
Right to the bay or something. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I was thinking that it was going, is it in a recirculation mode or the.
Or some of it might be used as that brown water.
Yeah.
Beyond
Okay.
my scope.
Okay. So.
So they're treating here the concern at the wastewater treatment plant. That original memo from the manager was because the concerns were that the mosquito vector district was treating here, and that was causing the wastewater here to get contaminated.
No.
No.
They're independent. They're independent of one another. Whatever happened in 1998 had to do with Ken Sabati, his exposure in the Ripon sewer, and it had to do with employees getting sick.
Okay.
So that's independent of this.
Mosquito district.
No, it's independent. That document is independent of. It stands alone. It was just that document was a reaction to employees getting sick in the workplace and wanting protection over the employees.
I guess I'm just wondering the connection between the mosquito vector district and wastewater treatment plants.
Well, mosquitoes breed in dirty water. They also breed in clean water. But I mean, there's 26 species of mosquitoes in California, and they all have their own, things that they like or dislike. Some like clean water, some like dirty water. The majority of them that carry bacteria, viruses, and diseases like the dirty water. Makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so sewage water is just a crazy habitat for mosquitoes. So where do you think they send us out to?
I've made the connection now. Thank you.
So I will give you an example, like my own. I was assigned to Escalon region dairies. I had no training. I'd never done it before. Dairies, from what I gathered with my own eyes, not that somebody taught me this, is that the farmer takes on water to irrigate, to clean his stalls. So basically, the farmer's taking on tons of water to clean his milking cows, clean the stalls. So that's a lot of wastewater that he has. He's not allowed to discharge that into the waters of the U.S., so he has to keep that water on his property. But the water that he needs versus the water that he can discharge, it's too high. And so what the farmer will do is he will either cut something underground so that he can pipe it back into the waters of the U.S. He'll have to find a way to survive.
So in other words, he's got to find some way in order to discharge the amount of water that he has.
Correct.
Okay.
So if you look at, now we go on dairies. I would have to treat my dairies once a week because they thrive. This is a copy of one of the dairies that I worked at. Now, there's herbicides, there's pesticides, there's hormones that they give the animals, and that's a full dairy pond.
Can I write dairy pond on here?
Sure. It's a Van Fleet Dairy Pond on 120 in Escalon. That's where I had my last exposure on 6/29/2011.
Okay.
1/20/2011.
29, 2011.
It's 120 and Sutliff Road, Carl Van Vliet.
Okay.
Some of the stuff I just know. So, So that binder was produced for this circumstance. It never was meant so much for this, but it applies to this, if that makes any sense.
That's what I'm looking for.
So it's created for when you're applying it to wherever you need
Anywhere we have to go, that
Right.
binder was created for our safety and protection.
to. Right, and so this is one of the places you have to go.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I'm not sure if it's important. Why did they dig ponds?
This is my own opinion, and you're not going to like it. It is a way to collect tax revenue. It's a total waste of people's money, and those ponds are to produce mosquito fish that grow. They thrive in the wild. They were dying in this environment, so they brought the paraffin F because they were losing their butts. I mean, how do you justify? This property is leased. It's not owned, it's leased. They put millions of dollars on this property of renovations to make it a place that they could justify. Then the very basis for what they built this was not thriving. It was not producing what they wanted. And so that's when they brought the paraffin F in and started using the formaldehyde
To save the fish.
to save the fish, but it actually killed them. Just like it was harming the employees, it was killing the fish. So,
And then they would take the fish and put them in.
swimming pools.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why would they use paraffin F? I thought that was a. Why would they use the paraffin S on the fish?
Because they said that the fish had parasites, and so they were killing the parasites on the fish.
Okay.
So, this next map is our Stockton yard. And if you see here, this is our main office, 7759 Airport Way. And these are ponds. This is property, the way I understand it, it's owned by our facility. They could have taken this and put it here.
Okay.
This is a waste of taxpayer dollars, and this doesn't even make sense.
Okay.
This could be here, but they didn't want to do that. So, and here's another example. This is the Lodi yard that's owned. I don't know the address because I never worked there, but it's off of Beckman. It's paid in full, owned. These are ponds, and it says vacant
In Lodi?
in Lodi, Beckman Road.
Hand these to.
And if you were really interested in doing environmental testing besides paraffin, I was told that there's, like in the concrete and under the concrete, there's very toxic stuff in there.
The one at Lodi.
On Beckman, yeah.
Okay. So the Lodi facility.
And these are owned by the mosquito vector.
It is as far as I know. It's paid in full. I forgot about this one. This one is the airport. It's on, here's the address. It's 13311 Steinagle Road. And it was like a airstrip where they would load and unload chemicals to treat, to spray out in Escalon. This one is sold, I think, as of last year.
Okay.
And I have documents from Dwayne that talk about where the bones are buried, and there's a lot of computers and information documents and stuff that were buried on this property. So, if anybody's interested.
Okay. On this property?
Yeah, you can have it.
In this area right here?
I've never been to the airstrip, so all I did was Google it and print it out. I mean, I'm sure that you guys, if you were interested, could figure out.
Okay.
I know it was sold, and so I know there has to be a record of it. That's pretty much all I have.
I'm not sure. Oh yeah, I figured we were gonna see this too. But the elast exposure at this location wasn't a formalin exposure.
It was not.
Okay. What was? Do you know what that one was? One of the other chemicals.
Whatever the Dairyman used and anything that I used, it could have been. If you look at the sheet from the wastewater handling, it could have been a bacteria. It could have been a virus. It could have been I don't know.
Right.
You know, who knows?
Okay.
This was your fourth exposure?
Yes.
Okay.
Or do you still currently work for the company?
I don't receive a paycheck. I'm not allowed to go there, but I am still on their website.
And why don't they allow you to go there or receive a paycheck?
I can't answer that. I don't know.
Okay.
Would you want me there?
Well, I just want to find out the background, that's all.
I filed a sexual harassment complaint against a supervisor in 2007. I was relocated to an area that I was unfamiliar with. I've undergone 3 knee surgeries as a result, and basically they just tried to force me out. The supervisor still works there. He was given full reign to give me a derogatory evaluation, calling me incapable of thinking, not a team player. He's married to his subordinate, and him and her have had full protection from the district, and they don't want me there.
And so now you don't work for another district, or I thought you said before you worked for a wastewater.
Before I worked at mosquito abatement, I worked at Lodi Public Library, I
before.
worked at a gym, and I worked at UPS
Okay.
at the same time.
Ah,
I was going to pre-law school to get my BA degree in paralegal studies, but due to this injury here, I had to withdraw from school twice. Once because of the exposure, I was on 4 rounds of antibiotics, and then after the exposure, I underwent a surgery, my 3rd surgery.
Okay.
So this was definitely you're on antibiotics, so this seems like a biological exposure.
Yes. You know what I forgot was the 6/29/2011 treatment from the doctor, because the doctor, the manager talked to the doctor, and the doctor was paid out of petty cash to make my injury go away, and I was sent back into the field intentionally and negligently.
Is it okay to ask what you were treated for?
It was for I walked into a T-post. Are you
Walked
familiar?
into a T-post.
I walked it. So on this pond, it's not a good picture. I have better ones, but this is an aerator.
Okay.
This aerator does not work, first of all. Otherwise, I wouldn't be treating the property.
Yeah.
Second of all, it's tied from a cable from here to here to here. And there's T-posts. I used to have a construction business, and T-posts are used to help form concrete.
Oh.
So T-posts are a weapon. I mean, they're actually metal, reinforced metal, to help,
Brace?
brace. Yes, brace concrete or brace something. So I'm walking around the edges here in the grass, and I'd encountered snakes before and little critters, so I kind of have a tendency to kick in front of me to make sure that if anything is, I've stepped on a snake before, and so it's like, okay, don't want to step on a snake, so I just kicked out in front of me, and I happened to kick right into a metal T-post. And the T-post, it hit my incision from my post 2 surgeries and tore down from my ankle down to from my knee down to my ankle. They called it a scratch and an exacerbation of my last 2 injuries.
And then that's where they kind of toned down to get you back out in the field.
It was a blunt trauma, and I was released back into the workplace, and I was actually asked to do more physical demands than I was required prior to my injury, after my employer said that he would accommodate.
I don't know if it's in here, but the formalin exposure was before this one, then?
Yes. It's been documented.
Okay.
It's been documented from 2006 to 2009. They stopped using it, or they stopped reporting it when the grand jury came in and the DA came in.
Oh, they did?
Yes, they
so
did.
On that same type of sheet that they were reporting it before that you had us in there. Okay. And that investigation was into them using formalin?
It started out with my concerns of civil issues, and then it was brought to a criminal level by another employee, and I had no knowledge of what this other employee was, had.
And and anything of Mike's investigation, or?
The grand jury released a finding. I can't quote the year. I think it was 2010. You can go online and find all their released publishes. And They said that the formalin was not used illegally because it was exempt from all the guidelines that I pointed out to you because it was used as a medicine instead of a pesticide. So that means they don't have to tell employees that they are exposing them to carcinogens or give them the the information to take to a doctor so they can get the proper medical treatment.
Let me see if I understand that last comment. The grand jury came out with a finding that the paraffin was used as a medicine.
Correct.
And you're saying that that was not a correct finding.
I don't know.
Okay.
It doesn't make sense to me when I read my rights as an employee and a pesticide applicator. It makes no sense at all.
So you'd want to find out kind of why the grand jury felt that way.
I want to know the truth. I want to know what my rights are, what my employees, fellow co-workers' rights are. I want those employees to have the information and know that they were exposed to something because the long-term effects of this we don't know.
Okay.
And they have the right to seek medical treatment and have knowledge of what their employer is exposing them to. And it's not my job to do that. It's somebody else's.
So that finding, did Mike?
Mike died. Mike died
Right.
during the...
No, he died during the investigation. Okay, so he never made it to the end. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah, I used to work with Mike. He was a great guy.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Me too. We've gone on a couple inspections together.
I will tell you, I went back to the DA's office when Mike was... Okay, I don't know if any of you guys...
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I have one with Mike.
I don't know if any of you gentlemen know, I have an uncle that worked as a detective, and he was friends with Mike. So he had told me that Mike was sick and had cancer and he didn't think he was going to make it. And I actually got into some essential oils for detoxification. So I took some oils to the DA's office. And one of the investigators, she was a female, I did not know her name, I just said, could you please give these oils to Mike? I don't know if they'd help, but I really liked Mike. And so the woman just asked me, she goes, is he sick because of your investigation? And I thought that was the strangest thing I'd ever heard. You know, I'm sure Mike had been exposed to many things, but I didn't know anything about this. I really didn't. I didn't do my research till after he passed away and after I had my fourth exposure. But I just thought that was very strange why a DA investigator would ask me if the things that he was investigating regarding our employment made him sick and gave him cancer. That was strange.
Is that Reba?
I don't know. Mike was the only gentleman I met with besides Scott Fickner. Scott Fickner and I never met. I just demanded that he not let the grand jury brush my concerns away.
So your intention is for us to try to figure out what really happened, was their exposure, and what your rights are.
All of our rights, not just mine.
And you're thinking of not just this incident, but obviously there's multiple incidents where you're feeling you're not being told what possible things you're being exposed to.
They're not following the contract that they agreed to. They're not fulfilling it.
And you're thinking not, like even like at this place, maybe you should have been in a respirator or something like
Not
that.
this. I will tell you what should have happened here. What should have happened here was there was supervisors that were out in the field with you on a daily, weekly basis. When I was put out here, my supervisor was taken away. I was not trained for this. I was forced in this position. Weed management is supposed to take place. The supervisors are supposed to be in control of that, and they're supposed to manage it and supervise it. That was not done. You can clearly see that there's tons of weeds out there. Weed letters were supposed to be handed out, weed abatement. My supervisor never had to do that, nor did he have to go out in the field. That's my problem.
Okay. So, it's my understanding that something happened where OSHA investigated.
Yeah, but OSHA kind of sucks. I don't know if you know about OSHA. All they do is fine. What the lady told me And I don't have any bad feelings towards OSHA. I just don't think that really what they do is that great. Maybe someone can prove me wrong, but what the investigator told me was she would do a surprise visit out to mosquito abatement. She would see what they were assigned that day, and whatever it was that day, that's what she would investigate. So if they were indoors doing records, that's what they did that day, and that would be on her report, and that would be all that she investigated. That kind of blew, because that could, if it was in February or in January, there's no mosquitoes. There's nobody out in the field, working in a dairy pond,
Right. Okay.
and all they do is fine them. Big deal. If I'm wrong, please correct me.
I did speak with Cal OSHA this morning, and they said that a letter was sent to the San Joaquin Mosquito and Vector Control District, and that they are asking for a response within 15 days as to your complaint. So that's the latest I know.
Right.
We'll see if they respond.
So that should be out at the beginning of January. About January 5th is when it's due.
15 days.
Unfortunately, every time I give them information, all they do is cover up stuff. They never address or admit. They deflect. They never stand up and admit or apologize or right the wrongs. All they do is get the information that you have, all the accusations, and they clean it up and they deflect.
Do you think that the district is improperly using the pesticides?
I think the district is improperly using taxpayer dollars, and yes, it's
So
very clear to me.
The improper use of taxpayer dollars is by leasing a property when they have existing properties that they don't need to.
Correct.
Okay. And then the misuse of the pesticide would be because they are not providing the proper personal protective equipment for an employee.
No, because they are spraying a caustic, cancerous chemical without employees' knowledge. They are seeing the signs of employees being sick. They are not giving them the MSDS labels or informing them that they have been exposed to something.
I was getting into those, but
Yeah,
proper PPE, training, experience, and tracking the exposures of when employees do have issues.
correct.
Okay.
But see, the PP, the protective
Personal
gear,
protective
right?
gear, yeah.
The people who sprayed the chemical, they had the proper gear, but a half an hour later, were employees allowed to be in that area without their consent or knowledge? Were the storage of these things, was it posted? Did they let employees know that this barrel that you see, this picture right here, that holds our 50, our 100-foot and 50-foot seines that we drag across those ponds to harvest the fish. And employees are walking in that water and holding those nets and touching their faces, and they don't even know that chemical's been sprayed.
So it's I see. I think so. The exposures are coming from employees kind of going in afterwards and doing activities where other folks that have actually applied it probably knew what they were applying.
Exactly.
But then the people coming in after didn't. Okay.
Exactly. And then storage. When you store that chemical, you're supposed to let your employees know, and you're supposed to post it. You're supposed to provide the MSDS labels. Where did they keep? If they're spraying all that, all these gallons, where was that kept? On somebody's private property or on the grounds? And if it was kept on the grounds, why didn't employees know? Why didn't I know? It's a violation of my rights.
Do you know the quantities of the chemical that they kept on site?
Well, I would tell you that this is a good indication right here. At least
So
one barrel.
2, maybe
Maybe
2,
three.
maybe 3.
I see 3.
It's 55-gallon.
Then you'd have to look at how much was sprayed. Does it match up with how much is there?
And also, too, your reports would say how much were sprayed, right?
Well, that one time, right?
Yeah, that one time.
Yeah. And these are records that we would be able to get from.
I'm assuming they're getting rid of stuff like that.
But the person who entered it was from like the ag.
No, the person who entered it was she's a secretary.
Okay.
So what happens is these people did the treatment. Those numbers.
Yeah.
They did the treatment. And then the card is supposed to go to the office where the secretary enters the treatment into the computer. At the end of the month, she's supposed to print out everything and report it to the ag department. And what I'm telling you is that her initial's not on there, which means that
They never brought it
they
out.
never entered it into the computer, and that
What is it? 8 ounces
when
equals
my
1 cup?
coworker went to the
2
ag
cups
department to
equals-
get a printout of all the chemicals that were sprayed, it wasn't on there, but later it was put on there.
She got the printout from the ag department.
He.
Or he got the printout
Yes.
from the ag
4
department.
quarts
Okay.
equals 1 gallon.
So,
So the ag department is the person who did this investigation.
right.
So this investigation to me has no value.
16.
Okay. So they're the ones who are keeping these records.
Not the hard copies,
But
just the
32
printout.
computer.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
128.
And this district is Central Valley. There. Do you know? I don't
This
know.
is the ag department. This the one who supposedly did the investigation.
Yeah, I know because we work with the Department of Pesticide Regulation at state level, but they're kind of different than us. They have a bunch of different regional offices and regional branches that do their own investigations, which are usually a part of ag departments.
They sit right across the street from the employers. I mean, they're right there.
Okay, so, and you don't know if this ever got up to the state DPR office?
I personally went to California State office, walked in there and asked to speak to somebody,
Maybe.
told him my information, and he
But
said,
at
you
least
have
two.
to file the questionnaire online. He said, but it sounds like you've really got something that needs to be investigated. And I've been in contact with him for probably a year. And I followed everything that he said to do, and he said, just, this is what you have to do. So I
And
did
these
that.
guys are the ones who do the investigations for the state, I guess.
Apparently.
Yeah, I think that's how they work.
So this formalin says 9,472 ounces, right?
Yes,
That's how much of the concentrate that's used
exactly.
in the.
In our estimation, that's 74 gallons of material.
Okay.
Would that be normal?
I don't know enough about this stuff. I've never sprayed it. I don't know anything about.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know what normal is. You've got three records to kind of gauge off of.
From what year is this record?
There's what I have is 2007,
Oh, okay.
2008, 2009. I know 2006 is missing. And who knows what else they've done.
Okay.
This one they don't have the actual gallons of the diluted stuff. they
Well, if
put
you're
on.
not reporting it, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Do you have anything else you want to add? Or
Not at this moment. I'm sure I'll think of a million things after you guys leave.
that's usually how it works. And you have Dylan as a lead contact for DTSC on this. I'm really helping him out.
Me too. I'm assistant. Just a local guy.
So, and you have Dylan's card, correct?
I have all three of your cards.
Yeah.
You guys, I don't really care what comes out of this, but I think that it's imperative that the employees have a right to know what has happened to them, because we don't know the long-term effects. That's my biggest concern.
On the timeline of when the formalin was being used, because you started in 04, so you were saying that they used it only from what time, from what year to what year?
I don't know.
You don't know? And that, but they stopped using it after a certain year,
2009.
2009.
Are the fish all dead now?
No, I heard that since they stopped using it, they've got the biggest yield they've ever had.
Yeah, okay.
They were killing their own fish. I'm sorry.
Breeding him to kill him. I don't have anything else I can think of.
I don't either.
I guess the last thing I was thinking of is, have you done anything on your own outside like the government in terms of pursuing a case against them? Like
I have a workers' comp claim. I have a serious and willful 132A claim. I have an EEOC charge.
Okay, that's
We want to make sure that we don't interfere with any of those.
fine. I don't really care about those as much as I care about, I mean, those were my recourses
Okay.
to protect my interest. But I'm not the only person that needs to be protected.
Okay. We just want to make sure that we don't, if there is legal proceedings going on, that we don't interfere with that in some way.
I wouldn't know. I do not have an attorney. I represent myself, and I'm just doing what I think is right.
Okay. I don't have, like I said, I don't have any other questions.
that's the last thing I was thinking of.
Just a tour,
Yeah. You want to go down there and check it out? Okay.
since we're here.
Okay.
Can I join you?
I have no objection.
Are you going to go tour on what site?
The White Slough facility?
Are we able just to walk down there? Or?
It's a taxpayer entity. I would think that anybody would have the right to walk on that facility.
I've actually inspected it once, not for your side of the business, but for the Lodi, City of Lodi side of the business.
You know, there was a gentleman, I think it was a city manager, who called me yesterday, and I did not want to return his call until after I met with you. I'll be calling him today to see what he wanted. But just to add that.
Okay. Yeah, that. Do you guys have to go out there today?
No,
Okay.
we can always reschedule.
Yeah, it's because we don't know who's. We want to find out if you're going to go out there right after. We just talked to her. We don't have any background information. If somebody asks you questions, what are you going to say? Why are you there?
Yeah.
Especially one from DTSC and one from the county. I wouldn't want to have that awkward conversation. That would then say, okay, well, there's something going on.
Sure, sure.
Especially if you. I'm assuming you want to gather more background information.
Yeah.
Okay. So, nothing against you going out. It's I won't want them to ask questions of why you guys are here. And
I think they know. I mean, if you look in the first paragraph, or the first page, it says, oh yeah, first paragraph.
we,
You know,
Oh, this investigation was just closed
it was just closed last month.
12/11.
yeah. And they fully tell
Last
my
week or
employer that I'm the one who, initiated it, and my employer is fully aware and all that
That's
stuff.
If you guys were going to go down there, what would you inspect? Could you inspect it? I mean, just do a visual inspection, right?
Right.
What would that prove?
I think that we would like to eventually talk to them. This is what we mainly like
Right,
to
I
do.
understand that.
So I want to make sure.
There are some things you are able to see by just driving by the site. Are there open 55-gallon drums out there? Is there activities going on? Are the ponds completely dried up and they've moved them to someplace else? Google Earth can give you some things, but they don't tell all the story all the time.
What she's alleging, okay, the water.
Yes.
Okay, if the water, if the ponds are contaminated or anything like that, wouldn't you have to do
We'd have
more
to
of a
check.
physical check, dipping into the water or something like that?
Correct.
Get samples of the water.
Yeah.
You can't do that right now.
Yeah.
Can you?
But in this case, also the paraffin was stopped being used.
Right. We could always take samples, but if it's stopped being used, I think that an issue might be where if we could find out and we'd probably have to work with them to show maybe after they've done some application, let's say at like a dairy or something like that, then we could come in
Do an application of dairy with what?
with whatever chemical that you're worried that you were being exposed to at the time.
Okay, that's totally separate from the formaldehyde. Don't communicate, or just don't put those together, because
But it's overall management practices at this of the mosquito abatement district that we want to.
it's negligence of fully disclosing what an employee is exposed to. Period.
Right. And so we're worried. I mean, and so to prevent, let's say, future. So this is what I'm thinking. Say, if we want to prevent future employee injuries, or just to prove that what they're doing is leading to exposure of employees, we couldn't. We'd have to if we wanted to collect samples, we'd have to sample on a place which they've applied something that we're worried that the employees are getting exposed to.
The White Slough facility. I mean, if you tell me why just moving some rose clippings would lead to a 2-month exposure.
But I thought it was last applied in 2009,
And 9?
yeah.
Right. There's something on that property. I don't know what it is because, I mean,
So your exposure was 2011?
No, my exposure was 2004, January of 2005, and 10 of 05. And then to 2000 and current.
So so my worry is that if we went out there and sampled, let's say we collected a sample of something out there and didn't find anything, it wouldn't mean anything, but it might be another thing for them to say, hey, see, it's not bad, it's gone, or whatever. We're not.
I already assumed that was going to happen. I mean, if you read the formaldehyde, it says that it dissipates pretty rapidly,
Right.
and it's only supposed to be detected in the air, and that you can't really. I mean, from what I read, you can't trace it.
Right, so I
Right.
don't think there'd be any point in sampling or doing anything like that.
It'd be
down there.
exciting.
I'd like to see where they store all their chemicals.
Well, Kim kind of addresses it in here, and she says that they didn't have, the sign labeled, and whatever. I've already given them enough. The DA's given them enough to cover up whatever damage was. They've already had the ability to cover it up.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
That's why it's the
That's why
I think
My concern, forgive me, Tiffany, but I'm thinking, okay, has the general population been exposed to this? It hasn't gotten into drinking water, hasn't gotten out to the ocean, and things like that. That's what she's saying. Not only that, let's go back to Escalon, the farmer. Okay, what about what's going on over there? His water, where is he sending that water to? And I have a relative living in Escalon, so.
no, right, and that's what my thinking would be if we want to focus on finding something in these if we're trying to identify, say, some sort of chemical that's being applied and exposing people, the best time to do that is right after they have applied it.
Okay,
Put it
when
on.
would that be?
That's what we'd have to work with either them to go investigate or do some more background to figure out where these things are being applied. If you know of a place that is regularly applied.
Okay. I feel like you've got something confused, and I just want to clarify. Because in 2004, I don't know what I was exposed to. I have no clue. All I know is I was working and I broke out with a rash. I thought I had poison oak. By the second one, I was working at the White Slough facility, and it definitely happened there. The third one, I fell into a V-ditch on McDonald Island, and I was shoulder tight into water. So 3 different incidences.
Yeah.
Don't know, what the cause was, but then we get to the formalin and know that they have full knowledge that they've been spraying this without informing anybody.
Right.
Right? Okay. Now, in my 2011 exposure, it could have been bacteria. It could have been anything. It was dairy wastewater. It had nothing to do with the formalin.
Right.
Right?
So
Okay.
I thought we were worried about like future exposures. I'm just wondering.
future
You wanna
exposure of
know-
staff.
of staff going out there, right?
What about right now informing the staff that they have been exposed to formalin and letting them, if they have any medical issues at the present time, giving them MSDS labels and telling them to go get medical treatment? What
Okay.
about that?
So
So,
we're looking retrospective here.
okay, so you're thinking getting more of just information, not necessarily going down there sampling or anything, but just giving information to employees that have already been there.
I don't know your job. I don't know what you do. I don't know what your capabilities. I don't mean to be. I don't know what resources you have at the ready. I've expended all my all my resources. I'm down to, I'm done. So I'm passing this on to somebody else so I can sleep at night. So whatever you guys can do, it'll be amazing.
At some point, we're going to want to get a copy of this binder here.
I would ask Eddie Lucchesi I can give you what I can give you, I didn't include it, is a list of documents and information that I asked from the opposing counsel to prove my exposure claims. And I can give that to you. I can send it, Eris. I have your email address, is that correct?
It's on my card too.
Okay, and I will send you a copy of the email that I sent to the opposing counsel and the documents that I asked for, and you could specifically just go to Eddie and ask him for those documents.
Okay, did you also ask for emails or other things regarding exposure?
What do you mean?
From you said there was a discovery request. Did you ask for emails from the opposing party if there's emails regarding you in their system?
Yeah,
or
I did.
regarding exposure?
Yeah.
Were any of those talking about the handling or the exposure to staff?
I have not received what I asked for from the opposing counsel. It was
So you've
supposed
asked for it, you just haven't gotten it yet.
Yes, it was supposed to be given to me on Thanksgiving, and I just got an email saying that they were just getting around to it. So,
No, real quick. Tiffany, you mentioned a guy named Scott Anders or Anderson.
yes, Andres.
Okay, how come he wasn't treated? You only said that he wasn't.
Because none of us were informed that we were exposed to anything. So everyone had symptoms, but they were never told that they had been exposed to the formalin. So negligence, complete negligence on my employer.
Was he diagnosed?
He had a rash that he could not get maintained. I mean, he couldn't get treatment for. It wouldn't go away. Now, Scott and I happened to be working together for 3 years or 3 or 4 years straight, and so him and I, I'm assuming, were exposed to the same thing.
How many employees were had rashes?
I only
You
know
listed, I think,
of
about 4.
I know of 3 just off the top of my head. That would be,
You're number 4, aren't you?
I would say I was 3. Me, Janine, Scott. Off the top
What
of
about
my
Joe?
Joe was hospitalized for pneumonia.
Would he also been one of
I don't know if he had a rash. I
So
could-
you would say 3, possibly Joe.
Okay, I'd say 5. I'd say Dwayne.
Okay.
I'd say Don. I'd say Joe. I'd say Janine. I'd say me and Scott. That's 6
Okay.
off the top of my head.
So was that Dawn?
Dawn.
Mittinger?
Meidinger.
Meidinger.
Or Meidinger. And I'll just tell you now, Don Meidinger is the gentleman that if you had more questions, he's the one who took the photos, he's the one who took the copies of the records, and he's the one who spoke to the DA's office and the Attorney General's office.
Do you have his number?
Not off the top of my head, but I can get it for you.
Do you want to give it to Dylan?
Or
I think
email
we're
Eris
losing
or
our-
whatever.
I think we're losing our quiet conversation spot due to.
And I'm exhausted. This is
Yeah.
emotionally exhausting.
So I'm going to go ahead and turn the recorder off. It is 11:15, and it's still 12:20.